Hi, everybody. Welcome to the bye week edition of Why Eagles Why, or is it Fly Eagles Fly? This team is 6-0. Everybody's excited. They're off this week. We're going to go over the team, and we're going to have some Phillies talk at the halftime of our show. You know how we do it. We do it with 4 quarters and overtime, and today we'll inject a halftime because of the excitement about the Phillies. Dave Bontempo, Pete Amato, and Bill Gelman with you. Please hit like and subscribe to be notified about future videos. All right, we start the first quarter. Bill, Pete, and I did have a lot of optimism about this team in the springtime, and we thought they would do well for the first 6 games. But I don't recall a 6-0 discussion. So my question is, what game surprised you a little, or was the one that put them over the hump? Now, Pete, for me, it was the Minnesota Vikings game in week 2, Monday night. They had a breakout. They did it on national television. They toyed with the Vikings, very good team, and they triumphed. And you thought there was something special about them after that. That was my hump game. What about you, Pete? What was your hump game in the Eagles?
The Vikings was surprising how they won. I don't know if I had that a win going into the season because I usually the early home games I had wins, but the Cardinals game was surprising to me. I know it was a little closer than we wanted it, but I thought they might drop that game. It was a first West Coast game. They haven't really done great against the Cardinals in the past. The Cardinals have a pretty good quarterback. I knew they were missing a wide receiver, but they had a solid team, especially last year. So I thought that would be the game that they the first loss probably, but fortunately they took that win.
That was one that people thought they would stumble on, having not won there in a couple decades, but they pull it out. Bill, what was your hump game of these 6 for the Eagles?
See, to be honest with you guys, I actually wrote down every single game and whether they would win or lose, but I threw out the piece of paper. So I'm going to say I thought the Eagles were going to be. No, I definitely had mine. I don't know where I put it though. I didn't know, Dave. I didn't know we were going to come back to this. But in all seriousness, originally I thought the Arizona game was going to be the game we had to be concerned about. And then I remembered DeAndre Hopkins was going to be out. So I'm like, Arizona doesn't really scare me. At the same time, that was really the game where the Eagles almost blew that game. And they were lucky to escape Arizona with a win. They can say thank you to the Arizona field goal kicker for missing that kick at the end of the game that would have sent it to overtime. But it's 6-0 sounds good. So I'm going to say I had the Eagles going 6-0 with true confidence.
Well, you did have a lot of confidence about the team. Well, hey, well, we'll look at the betting slips because you might have that there. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was just saying. I was just not agreeing with what he said. There's no way.
But I did hear from a lot of people, that's the game. The Arizona game, it's a perfect trap game for the Cowboys the week after. They'll go out there. They won't put their foot on the pedal. And we saw a lot of that after they got up and then escaped Arizona with a victory. But here they are, 6-0, the bye week. The kings of the NFL are off. And we're going to come back and take a look at how they are doing this. Second quarter of Why Eagles Why, and literally the second quarter because the Philadelphia Eagles have owned the second quarter against the National Football League. And Bill, I think this is a special segment of Gelman's Gold.
Yes, this is mind-blowing, these numbers here. Not as mind-blowing as Kyle Schwarber's home run last night, but of the 26 points the Eagles scored against the Cowboys on Sunday night, 20 of them came in the second quarter, and it follows a trend that the Eagles have been doing this season. Of their 161 total points scored this season, 112 of those points have come in the second quarter. That's 70%, almost 70% of their scoring is coming in the second quarter. That's actually an NFL record, according to some NFL research I found on Twitter this morning. Most points scored by a team in any quarter through 6 straight games. And if you look at it even closer, I mean, they've outscored the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, the Super Bowl champion LA Rams, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is just in the second quarter. The total points those teams have scored for the season are less than what the Eagles have scored in the second quarter.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow. Hey, and you break that down because you have 24 points against the Commanders, 24 points against the Lions in those games, 20 points against the Cowboys. As you mentioned on Sunday night, there's something about that. And Pete, for Eagles.com, for you, I wrote a story and I said, but the books are all over it now. You go to the book and you try to get a bet on the Eagles in the second quarter. Forget about it. You're laying 2 and 3 to 1.
Yeah.
Everybody's on it now with this team.
Yeah, it's kind of perplexing. It's kind of crazy, but I think it comes down to coaching. I think Sirianni comes into the game with kind of several avenues he wants to take. And I think it takes him the first quarter to kind of get comfortable with what kind of style of offense he wants to run with. And that brings me to that. I'm actually really impressed with Sirianni's offensive coaching. You saw in the Dallas game, they were running triple options. Most NFL teams have never run triple options. They basically took Parsons out of the game. The only time he put some decent pressure on it is when Lane Johnson was out. But they basically took him out of the game by letting him go free and running a triple option around him. It's kind of smart. I mean, I don't know who said it. I think one of the ESPN guys. Basically, it looks like Sirianni's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers.
I think that was Chris Collinsworth talking about what they were doing with Parsons, and it's so you let him come in and then you go around him, right?
Yeah, and it's simple when you think about it, but on top of that, he is doing triple options. He's doing some really creative offensive plays, and I think a lot has to do with which kind of way he wants to go with the offense, and maybe it takes maybe it takes about a quarter to kind of get comfortable with what he wants to do and what he thinks he can get away with.
It's been incredible.
Dave, I just want to put a side note to those numbers I put out there, that it's that record, that NFL record, is a record for the first 6 games of any NFL season in NFL history, not 6 consecutive games.
Wow, but that's still what a number. I mean, it's mind-boggling that they take control of these games by halftime, and some of it is okay, they're not getting the ball first. Some of it is maybe there's a sustained drive. We're seeing an early second quarter touchdown to set it up, but they have this ravenous killer instinct in the second quarter of the game. Now, what would happen if they could extend that? Now, what do you guys think about why they're not able to do the same thing or even a segment of it in the third and fourth quarters of their games?
Again, I think it comes down to coaching. Sirianni is only a second-year coach, and I think it comes down to adjustments. When you play against NFL coaches, whether it's a good team or a bad team, they're going to adjust based on what your offense is doing. And I think Sirianni just needs to get a little better at adjusting in the second half. And I think that comes with time and comes with getting to know his personnel better. And it's still a pretty new offense. It's still a pretty new team. And they still really don't know what we have with Hurts. I mean, is he a passing specialist? Is he a running specialist? Is he an RPO guy? Like I think he's still trying to kind of figure that out. And when the adjustments are made on the Eagles offense, I feel like maybe we're not making the correct adjustments to kind of keep putting the foot on the pedal there.
Yeah, I think the Eagles didn't get the memo that I stopped going to the supermarket during the games. But they must think I'm at the supermarket in the third and fourth quarter because they stopped scoring. Last year, I came home around halftime some days because I had other places to be, and then they turned it on. So I'll send a email to the Eagles after we're done recording to say, I'm watching the whole game. Come on, guys.
We think we saw something that said, hey, Bill's not watching. We don't have to do anything. He's not even here. Hey, as a note to that, how about the little dance that Nick Sirianni did when he drew the Cowboys offside on that first drive on fourth down? You could really tell his awareness of the situation with that. They lined everybody up. You think they're going for the field goal, and he draws off that team and sets up a touchdown.
Yeah, you can tell he's been working on that, and he got it with his basically his first opportunity to get it. So he was pretty pumped that when you see something like that work out, something so small that you've been working on and in such a big position of the game. So I get his excitement there. It was pretty impressive.
And he's just getting started. I mean, you got to remember this is his second season in the NFL, and he's a very young coach, and he hasn't really been an offensive coordinator before this job. So, he's just getting started. I can't wait to see what he still has cooked up as the season goes on here.
Yeah.
A year ago, they were saying Nick Sirianni was over his head. Now he's dancing on national television and beating the Cowboys. So it's been quite a progression for this team. As we go to halftime, we're going to look at something else captivating Philadelphia, and that's those Phillies, our halftime show. Halftime of Why Eagles Why. Now it's the Phillies. You see Pete's jersey, something special is going on in Philadelphia. And this weekend, the Phillies have a bonus series. They're hosting the San Diego Padres because they are in baseball's Final Four. And Pete, the city and the area in South Jersey, there's an electric atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm just there with them. I'm a huge baseball fan. I grew up playing baseball. It's actually always been my number one sport as a fan. So yeah, I'm a big time Phillies fan. I'm excited. It's an exciting team to follow, and they're hot right now. And they're playing against another hot team that wasn't supposed to be there. And the whole underdog thing comes back, I guess. If that's what helps people to kind of give them the confidence to root for the Phillies. But yeah, it's an exciting team to follow. I mean, Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Nola, Wheeler. You have all these guys who are so easy to kind of root for, and I think they kind of relate to the 2008 and then even the '93 Phillies, team that people didn't think were ready to kind of take the next step, and they basically said like, "We're going to take the next step, and we're going to try to win the whole thing." So I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident in the game tonight. With Nola pitching. Game 3 might be tough. I don't know if Hader's pitching game 3. That guy's a tough pitcher, so we'll see what happens there. But I said before the series, whoever won the first game is going to win the series. So I hope I'm right.
And that was the Phillies over the Padres 2-0. You do not want Josh Hader pitching in relief with a lead for the Padres. He struck out the side against the Dodgers to clinch that series. Bill, your thoughts on the Phillies?
They're just an unbelievable story. I said before the playoffs started, I didn't see the Phillies making it out of the NLCS, but that was assuming the Mets or Dodgers would be the other team they would be facing. And so you have this Padres team that took both those teams out. So you have the Padres, the number 5 seed, versus the Phillies, number 6 seed, going for a spot in the World Series. And the fans, it's like they came out of, I think there's more Phillies fans coming out of the woodwork this year than in 2008. I was actually at the World Series in Tampa Bay, and I actually went to a game because I timed the trip perfectly. And I was at the World Series parade, but I mean, the fans are so loud and so hyped up. You can hear them in New Jersey. But in terms of this team, there's something special. They turned this team, there was doubts. I keep hearing on the radio that when they got blown out by the Nationals in September, and when they had a losing record in September before they clinched, I mean, there was doubts that this team would even make it out of the wild card round. This team is getting hot at the right moment. There's something special about this group, other than the one game against the Braves where they didn't score any runs. Or did they score runs in that game?
No, the 3-0 game was
3-0.
The only one they lost was the shutout. Yeah.
Yep. So, but they're just clean. The pitching's there. The offense, I mean, I would have liked them to see us score more runs, but hey, a win is a win. Schwarber gets hot. this team's unstoppable. And I think because they took one game in San Diego, and if they win again today, I don't see the series going back to California, because I just don't see anyone beating the Phillies in Citizens Bank Park right now.
No, I know a couple people that went to the game, and they say that place, they've been to tons of games, and that place was literally like vibrating, like Philly, like it was 11 years of pent up frustration just like coming out in both those games. It was insane. And then the pitching, I didn't even mention the pitching. I mean, they're 1.17 ERA in the whole postseason so far. The starting pitchers, that's insane. Absolutely insane.
Well, you figure like there's usually some type of an event that pushes a team over the top. Now, to your point about the pitching, they stayed in the game against the Cardinals in the first game. And then the event was those 6 runs in the 9th inning of the first game. And there's a certain momentum that comes from that. And the Padres, they beat the Dodgers in game 2 in Los Angeles. And when they went back home, forget about it. There was a wave with that team too. My contrast was before the Cardinals series, I'm walking out of Delaware Park, and some guy goes, "Hey, the Phillies are playing." And somebody goes, "Yeah, enjoy it. It's only going to be 2 games." I said, "What are you talking about? Look at this. They mean they belong here."
Mm-hmm.
1 week later, I'm in Cape May. And now it was like the old time thing with people used to pay attention with the radios. Now it's the phone. You walk up 5 feet, somebody else has a phone with the game. You walk up 10 feet over that, somebody else is looking at his phone with the game. You could have walked up and down the promenade and you wouldn't have missed a batter in the Phillies Braves game. So there is a lot that's overtaken this team. Now, but what does it mean to you guys? You guys have followed this team for years. Let's talk about that feeling it brings about in people and in you guys.
Yeah, I think it's great because I thought this team was still a year or 2 away before they reached this level, because they went out and spent the money. You have 2 top-tier pitchers. The bullpen has been great lately, but it's been questionable throughout the season. So I just think the whole process has been sped up, and it also gives me hope that this isn't a one-shot deal. I mean, you got these star players locked up beyond the season. So if you get to the World Series this year or win a World Series, I mean, this could be better than the 2008, 2009, 2010 team where they made to the NLCS and 3 years in a row and 2 World Series. So, I just hope the Phillies don't end up having to play the Yankees in the World Series, because then I got to hear from someone else in the house that their team's better than mine.
Well, on that with the Yankees, I was thinking about the other day. So the Eagles in 2004 went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Patriots, right? 2017, they had the redemption. They beat the Patriots. In 2009, the Phillies went to the World Series, lost to the Yankees. Now, if the Yankees-Phillies World Series, that's a redemption story. That's our chance to come back. I know we got to win. We got to win this series first, but that's like the first thing I thought of when I saw the Yankees clinch yesterday.
I like your thinking.
Well, I'll tell you what. You may not want to say this too loud in the house, Bill, but the Yankees have overachieved. They needed everything to get past Cleveland.
I agree.
They don't have a lineup after the first.
I like to see the
hitters.
Yankees. I don't want to see the Astros. I like to see the Yankees if the Phillies get to the World Series.
Yeah.
The Astros are way better than the Yankees.
Phillies would beat the Yankees. Famous last words. They'll play this back a few months from now. But when you look at the Yankees, they struggle, and the bullpen blew a big game for them against Cleveland. But they have to put all their power hitters up at the top of the lineup. They missed DeLemayhew, and they missed the guy at the top of the lineup that can get things started. So if they don't hit home runs against you, they're not going to beat you. They probably have a huge percentage of their runs are homers. But what fun this is. I mean, when's the last time you had this much fun talking about baseball in October, guys?
Yeah, it definitely lifts up the city. Definitely lifts up the city.
Yeah, and it's great to see like the teams are supporting each other. Like you see Embiid at the Phillies and Eagles game. You see Jeffrey Lurie hanging out at the Phillies game the day before the Cowboys game. Mm-hmm. So there's I can't remember the last time I've seen this much of a great support system between all the teams between one another, and there's something special about this team. That I think 1 through 9, this Phillies lineup is they're in a position where someone else can step up every day. I mean, Marsh hit that 3-run homer.
Yeah, who would have thought that, right?
Yeah, so it's like you never know who's going to be the star player of the game. So it's great to see Rhys Hoskins. He's been a Philly for forever. He's had some clutch hits in the playoffs, so it's just there's something special in the air.
Yeah, and when it's your time, those special things happen. And when you're talking about the link between baseball and football, who's one of the biggest Eagles fans? Mike Trout. Always there. The Millville product and the California, the Los Angeles Angels superstar. They're not in the postseason, so he's here rooting on the Eagles. So the link is there. What a time to be a Philly fan, Eagles, and the Phillies. And we'll come back and resume the Why Eagles Why third quarter just ahead. Third quarter of Why Eagles Why. Dave Bontempo, Bill Gelman, Pete Amato with you. And the theme is quarterbacks. And Bill, Carson Wentz is back in the news.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's because of an injury. As anybody who's listened in the past knows, I'm not a big fan of Carson Wentz. I feel ever since he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl season, he just hasn't been the same player. This was a freak injury with, where he broke his finger. He's out for the 6 weeks. And here's what's interesting. The Commanders are 2-4 right now. Wentz is out. So it'll be interesting to see, do the Commanders play differently and start winning without Wentz as their starting quarterback? That's one question. Two, they're playing the Green Bay Packers this week, who are 3-3. And the Packers have lost back-to-back weeks to the New York Giants and New York Jets, two teams that were at the bottom of the NFL the last few seasons. So Aaron Rodgers loses Devontae Adams, and suddenly the Packers, who are one of the favorites in the NFC, are looking like a team that's just lost. So it's like it's an intriguing story this week, because you have for the Commanders, you have their team in turmoil. We won't get into that whole other story of why they're in turmoil. But can a different quarterback pick up this team? Because they have some decent receivers, and then you have a Packers team who's trying to show some signs of life, because they lost to the Jets.
They got whipped by the Jets, and the Packers. The Packers to your 27-10, and the Packers, to your point, Bill, they were the number one seed in the playoffs just last year. So they've gone from that to 3-3. And as for Washington, I still think Taylor Heineke is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz because of his mobility. He's not as big, but he can get outside the pocket and make things happen with them. So now it's his time to see that they should not have acquired Carson Wentz. We will see. It's a very interesting contrast there. And Pete, there's another quarterback story this week in Dallas.
Yeah, Dak wants to come back. And it's kind of interesting because before the Eagles-Dallas game, fans were saying, we don't need Dak. Cooper Rush is the future. Dak is overrated. After we whooped them pretty easily, now they're saying, oh, we would have won with Dak. Cooper Rush is just a backup. I mean, Cowboys fans will always find something to complain about and whine about. Of course, they're going to make excuses. But, I mean, they just that's what they live on because they're just constantly losers. But, yeah, so Dak, that is interesting, though, the Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush comes in, wins 3 out of 4 games. 3 out of 4 games, right?
He went 4-1 for them.
Okay, 4 out of 5
he won 4 games
okay.
for them. Yeah.
So 4 to 5 games. But I mean, I think it's obvious those games, it wasn't Cooper Rush winning the game. It was the Cowboys defense was solid and they weren't making mistakes. When Cooper Rush has to go out of his comfort zone to try to win the game for the team, we saw what happens. And against the Eagles, they were trying to have Cooper Rush run an offense to win against the Eagles, and he's not going to do that. He's a career backup quarterback. So I think the Cowboys should be happy they're getting Dak Prescott back because he is a good quarterback, and he's way better than Cooper Rush. I don't know what these fans were thinking a couple of weeks ago when they're saying, "No, just get rid of Dak. We don't need him anymore." Idiots.
Well, he figured that he would be in there until Prescott was ready. He did it. He did a great job in his role. And I think he grew during the Eagles game because he brought them back from 20-3 to 20-17. So he did well there. And Prescott is hurt a lot. So they have to develop somebody. Now, Prescott's playing the Lions this week. Here's a crazy stat on the quarterback going against the defense. The Lions have given up the most points in football, and that's after they had a bye week. So they were off, and they still have given up the most points in football. You think somebody would have passed them, but that's how big of a lead they had in that department. So we're looking for fireworks in that game. And my quarterback to look at this week is Tua. Tua Tagovailoa is back for Miami, and they play Pittsburgh. And you can tell he's valuable because that line is 7. The Dolphins are giving 7 to the Steelers, and the Steelers just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a 10.5-point dog. Wow. So now they go to Miami, and they're getting 7 points. So that shows you how much they value Tua. So we've got Taylor Heineke, Dak Prescott, and Tua. 3 quarterbacks in the spotlight in our third segment of Why Eagles Why. And in our fourth quarter, we'll take a look around the league. Fourth quarter of Why Eagles Why. Bill, what are your thoughts about the NFC in general?
I am absolutely puzzled. You look at the standings as a whole, there are 4 teams that have winning records right now. 3 of them are in the NFC East. You take away the Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, and Minnesota Vikings, who are 5-1. Everyone else is 3-3. 2 of the division leaders right now are 3-3, and that includes the LA Rams, who won the Super Bowl last year. Yes. So it's like, the beginning of the season, we thought, Eagles maybe an outside shot with the Packers and Buccaneers leading the way. And those other teams, they're going to week 7 with 3-3 records. Eagles are plus 225 at DraftKings right now to win the NFC. And then the Bucks, who I don't think are a great team this year. I think they've lost something. They're second at plus 400. And then you have the Vikings at third at, I believe, plus 750. So there's the Eagles are starting to pull away from the rest of the conference. Whether or not this stays this way as the season continues, because you look at the Eagles schedule coming up. The Packers game originally scared me. I had that penciled in. I know I had that one penciled in as a loss when we went through the schedule. Now that game doesn't scare me because the Packers are doing nothing.
No, in fact, I made a bet at the beginning of the year that the Packers game would be their first loss of the season. That's November 27th. So I'll make a great payout if it hits. And if the Eagles are unbeaten going into that game, I'll hedge it and take them. But yes, the Packers are not doing well. Pete, what are your observations when you look around the league?
The Jets are starting to get some respect. That's my observation. They're playing in Denver, and it's a pick'em this week.
Wow.
So, the Broncos were supposed to be this high flash offense with Russell Wilson coming in, and they have a solid defense, but they're not what they're supposed to be. I think Russell Wilson is
stealing money.
Yeah, he just looks out. He just looks done. He looks shot. I think Seattle knew that. That's why they were more than happy to let him go. And the Jets, and I trash the Jets all the time on this show. But they look like a solid team. They're young, they're fast. You can tell they're a hungry team. They're an aggressive team. They got a young, aggressive quarterback. And that's all you can really ask for with a team that's kind of on their way up. If they want to win, they're playing hard for their coaches. And they're coming full tilt with a team that's on the opposite side of that. A team that just looks old and slow and just looks like they're going the opposite way. So I like the Jets on this game. I like them when I pick them. To be honest, I just think they're both going on an opposite trajectory here. I mean, I think the Jets are on their way up and the Broncos are on their way down. And this game really intrigues me. It's an exciting game.
And the Broncos might start tanking. They might have to draft their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, they'll be paying Russell Wilson for the next 12 years while they're with another quarterback, though.
Don't you wonder about what goes into the thinking with these contracts? You take a look at Russell Wilson, you know he can't move the way he used to. He cannot improvise. And when you take the legs away from Russell Wilson, he's an okay quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. Now, Pete, to your point, a lot of betting on the Jets because that game opened up with the Jets getting 1.5 points. So the line moving as we speak, that the Jets fans are lining up and supporting them. And, we did talk about on the show how we love that coach. Robert Saleh, when he was with the 49ers as a coordinator, could light a fire under that team. And he has brought a spark of enthusiasm to the Jets. And then they had all those draft picks. So you can sort of get good in a hurry if it all comes together. And we're very happy for them and for the Giants because of the interest that they have brought back in turning it over. These games mean a lot now instead of just being regional rivalries.
Yeah, I'm not too happy for the Giants, but I know what you're saying. It makes it more exciting to watch, even when they're not playing the Eagles. The Giants game is another game I'm excited to watch because them and the Jags are again two teams that are on the way up. I mean, two young teams that feel like they are potential competitors in the in playoffs. So that looks like a good game too.
Yeah, and we have that to look forward to at the end of the season as they bunch up those division games. But Bill, that is a good point you have about who wants the NFC East, and some people will fight about it over the weekend because the Eagles are off. It's overtime on Why Eagles Why and a bonus. It was an Eagles bye, but Bill, so what now? What a perfect time for a bye with what else is on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the Eagles' first 6 games of the season couldn't have gone any better. So we'll see if they start scoring in other quarters after that week of rest. But in terms of, look at this perfect timing. That you got the Phillies playing potentially 3 games at Citizens Bank Park, playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's just like the focus will shift to them. And if they win Game 2 in San Diego, the crowd is going to be absolutely electric in Philadelphia because they know only 2 more games and they go to the World Series. Let's not get ahead of ourselves because the Padres, you can't ignore the Padres. They're in the NLCS for the first time in 24 years. So their drought was actually longer than the Phillies. And plus, Padres knocked out the Mets and the Dodgers, as I previously said. So, I'm pumped, but I have that, you got to keep that open mind that the Padres, they got here. So it's like you got to respect them. But like I said, it's Nola on the mound, they win. I don't care who you put on the mound. The momentum and the enthusiasm that this team has is going to make it a very special weekend.
Pete, one eye on the NFL and one eye on the Phillies.
Yeah. I mean, we might not even need Sunday's game. If that's the case, I have two young boys, so probably hit a pumpkin patch or some October fall event. I don't know, but the Phillies game's on at 2:30. So we got a little time to waste in the morning. But there's nothing. I mean, I'm going to watch football if I'm home, but I don't need to be home because I don't need to really watch the Eagles, and the Phillies might not even be on because we might have swept. So we'll see. Well,
I was there the night in 1980 when they beat the Kansas City Royals and captured the World Championship. And there is absolutely nothing like the atmosphere of Philadelphia baseball in the postseason. Forget about it anywhere else. This is where the electricity is. So we're looking forward to it. Enjoy the weekend from so many different directions. For Bill Gelman, for Pete Amato, this is Dave Bontempo saying thank you for joining us on Why Eagles Why. And please remember to hit like and subscribe to be notified about future videos.